systems go. Well, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. We want to welcome you to the town hall meeting here in the city of Pinole that is in collaboration with Supervisor Gioia's office, Mayor Tom's in the city of Pinole, Fire Chief Louis Brochard, and we just want to give a great thanks. We want to thank not only the city of Pinole, the Supervisor's office, and all of you that have had the opportunity to come out here today, today is very much a celebratory day. We're here to celebrate a couple of things. Not only are we in the early beginnings of a wildfire season, we're up and running already this season, and we're going to be talking about not only prevention, planning, preparation, and response, but we are also celebrating the contract for service between Contra Costa County Fire Protection District and the city of Pinole that started just a year ago. And so this morning we have a series of speakers, and this is the way it's going to be going this morning, is that I'll introduce the supervisor and the mayor. They'll say a few words, and then we're going to go into a presentation that will last between 45 minutes to an hour to not only go through the items which you can see on the screen. And we will talk and introduce also with Michelle that's here with us, our county coordinator, about the local hazard mitigation plan that we're working to update and provide an opportunity for question and answers. We anticipate that will take, again, about 45 minutes to an hour. And what is unique is we're doing 5 of these events. This is the third of the 5 events. And what's unique about today, again, is that the service agreement that we have with Contra Costa County Fire in the city of Pinole is that we're having an open house. To show you some of the services, for you to meet some of the firefighters, and show the awesome collaboration that started with the previous mayor to the existing mayor, and the increased level of service of opening this station a year ago. And it's something really to celebrate, the collaboration and teamwork that went from the supervisor's office and Measure X, which you'll hear about, the fire chief in the city of Pinole. Today is a celebratory day. And so we couldn't have asked for a better day of weather. And we do give thanks again to all those that prepared. I'll tell you, Mayor Toms, that your staff, the city, the police chief, his staff, Public Works, you can see a lot of people working this event, the support from Contra Costa TV, and all of our prevention and other staff that made this happen. It was a huge undertaking to bring us to this day and to this time, and we're just really excited to see that we have a good amount of people in attendance here today. We're also, with Contra Costa TV and the City of Pinole TV, this is being live streamed, and this is being recorded, and it'll be repeated on a regular basis to continue to educate and let people know what's going on within the city. And so we welcome you all here and hope you feel comfortable. So to start off, I would like to bring up Supervisor Gioia to give you some words about this day today.
Thank you. So, are you all happy to celebrate 1 year reopening of this fire station with the partnership? So, I want to first, I think we should acknowledge the voters of Contra Costa who helped us in passing Measure X back in 2020 in the middle of the pandemic, because the purpose of Measure X was to create more funding to do things like reopening fire stations, more emergency medical, fighting wildfires, better health, things like that. So I want to acknowledge that that was a great countywide effort. I want to also thank all of the firefighters and fire personnel who work for our system in Contra Costa and here in Pinole, who also really put their lives on the line, both the emergency responders and the firefighters. Give them a hand, please. So, you know, we're here today because of the extra funding that Measure X brought in. It allowed us to join this great partnership with the city of Pinole and reopen this station, which had been closed for too long. And reopening this station has really accomplished a couple things. One is you get emergency medical response faster because there are paramedics on the fire engines. Number two, we're right on the front lines of potential wildfire entering our community. So we have a station on the front lines. And three, wherever a fire is, now response can be quicker because we have an additional fire station here in West County. For all those reasons, this has really been, I think, a big improvement. And he agrees. And what we've done out of Measure X is we are allocating $4.5 million a year just for wildfire prevention efforts like clearing vegetation out on public lands, private lands, a grant program for residents. So for those of you that live on the front lines, there is a website portal where you can sign up and get funding to help harden your house. We also, at the Board of Supervisors, just about 2 weeks ago, allocated an additional $1.5 million for both evacuation software and wildfire prevention efforts. We know this is an important issue. So in addition to this education effort, it's really about funding the tools and things we need so that emergency responders have the resources to be able to protect all of us. So I just wanted to acknowledge that, acknowledge the public, the firefighters, all of you in Pinole who really help on this. So with that, do I get to introduce the mayor, or are you going to introduce her? You're going to introduce her, but I'm going to say it's great, this partnership, and I see Devin Murphy, the mayor last year, when we finalized the partnership, and of course Maureen Toms, the mayor this year. It's been a great cooperation with the Pinole City Council. So thank you, thanks for being here.
Well, I thank you. You've done, come on up, Maureen Toms. So we'll give the floor to Mayor Toms.
Good morning, everyone. Again, welcome to the third of 5 preseason Fire Preparedness Town Hall meetings sponsored by Confire. This town hall, as mentioned, is really special because we're celebrating the 1-year anniversary of our partnership, which resulted in the reopening of this station. And the reopening of this station is not only beneficial to the valley, but it's beneficial to the entire region. And all of this was made possible by the passage of Measure X in 2020. Following the passage of that measure, all of the fire chiefs got together throughout the county to figure out what's the best way to move forward on fire prevention and fire safety in the county. And we're the lucky recipients of that decision. The city of Pinole, along with Confire, are entering into and participating in a new partnership. And this is the East Bay Hills Wildfire Prevention Coordinating Group, which includes partners in West County as well as partners in Alameda County, like Oakland Fire, Berkeley Fire, and so on. And the group is going to focus on the development of model fire codes that are consistent throughout the region, the development of joint plans to reduce flammable vegetation and replace it with more fire-resistant vegetation wherever that's appropriate, to identify funds to assist in wildfire risk mitigation activities, to support planning for wildfire evacuations and response, and to work cooperatively to influence legislation to mitigate fire risk and to make wildfire safety a priority. In addition to celebrating this 1-year anniversary of our partnership, the purpose of this town hall is to stress to the residents the importance of wildfire preparedness. You're going to hear from the experts on the importance of meeting the weed abatement deadlines, removing vegetation that could put your home or yourselves in jeopardy, putting together a go bag that's necessary for if you have to evacuate your homes, at a moment's notice, and many other tools. I'd say one of the most important one is learning about the community warning system. So if you're not already part of the community warning system, there are tools today to teach you how to participate in that. So there's resources here and online that you're going to hear about, and how to prepare for wildfire or any emergency. So thank you again for joining us for this celebration and for gathering the potential information. I also wanted to, before I close, introduce other council members here. We have Council Member Devin Murphy, and I did see Council Member Anthony Tave's family, but I didn't see Anthony. I don't see him. It's Anthony. I will also mention we also have Norma Martinez Rubin and Cameron Sasai, our Mayor Pro Tem. So with that, I'll turn it back over. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Toms. I'd like to introduce Fire Chief Louis Brochard of the Contra Costa County Fire Protection District.
Well, good morning. I think it's a sign of a halfway decent fire chief when the elected leaders come up and actually cover all the salient points on my behalf. So that's great. And I think that it shows that we're connected and they are absolutely engaged on the issues of fire safety and fire protection here in Pinole. So I'd be remiss if I didn't extend my gratitude to everybody who was a part of making this happen. The fact that we're standing here in a formerly closed fire station a year after one of the quickest processes in the state to put these two agencies together, you know, the leadership at the Board of Supervisors, and even backing that up with the architecture of Measure X that Supervisor Gioia was a huge part of from the very beginning, and then our labor partners, and then ultimately working with the City Council and their leadership to put this together. And I do mean it was quick. I get phone calls from fire chiefs and other consultants out there saying, how did you do that? Because we did it in about 9 months, and that is just unheard of for something like this. So it is extremely gratifying to be part of the group that put this together. All of our staff, from the county administrator's office, county counsel's office, huge effort, but we're here a year later and it's going really, really well. And we expect that to continue into the future. So don't necessarily want to repeat everything that's been said because it's very salient to everything that we're here to do, not just today, but for the future of Pinole. When it comes to Confire, I just want to point out that we brought a couple of things to share with you today during the open house. One of our hazardous materials response units and part of our hazmat team is here today. Please talk with them and get to know something about that particular specialized resource that Confire brings to bear. As you may or may not know, Confire is your emergency ambulance operator. When you call 911 for an ambulance, we are providing that to you as well. And we provide that throughout virtually all of the county. It's easier to say where we don't provide it than where we do, but the entire West End here is covered by us, regardless of whether you're in Richmond, Pinole, or El Cerrito. Measure X has been a huge game changer for the county. I regret that our hand crew, today we have 14 folks on our hand crew that are on duty today, that they can't be here to participate and to say hi, but they're doing important work out in the central part of the county. They're actually burning today to remove some wildfire fuel, and they're taking advantage of that because that window will close here in about 2 weeks. So they're out doing really good work. I just want to touch on something from my perspective, things that keep me up at night, and ask you for help. As I was looking out, or if you're looking behind me and you see all the wonderful vegetation and growth, Pinole's fire risk is not necessarily unique. And Mayor Toms brought it up. We're all part of a new initiative to try and get better collaboration from basically Rodeo all the way down through Hayward. Because fire doesn't care what city it's in, doesn't care what county it's in, and we all need to do a better job of collaborating and getting out in front of some of the things that we can control with your help to reduce wildfire risk on a community-wide scale, not just property by property. So I think you all probably know what happened in Lahaina. And if you've ever been there, I don't know that it would be something you would think about happening in Lahaina, but sort of my new thought is if it can happen in Lahaina, it can happen here. And you can take that statement and put it almost anywhere. The biggest driver of something like a Lahaina event is the wind. Ironically, right now we have a bit of a north wind event. It's not a problem, but occasionally throughout the year we get really extreme wind events. And it doesn't take a lot of vegetation. It takes a little bit of vegetation to get something started, and then once it gets into a house, it goes from house to house to house. It's no longer a vegetation fire, it's a structural conflagration. So we need to short circuit that on the very front end. So we're gonna be talking with you today about some of the things that you can do as property owners, not just to comply with the minimum requirements, but what you can do to really ensure that your home is as safe as possible, as hardened as possible. As Supervisor Gioia mentioned, we have some programs. Please go to our website, and I think you'll see that here in a little bit, to find out what programs are available that might help you to be a part of a bigger process of making your community, not just your home, but your community and your neighborhood a safer place. So I do want to extend my thanks to all the wonderful staff from Contra Costa Fire who made this possible. There are many, many hands that put this together to make today such a great day. I think I'm seeing the tables out there being set up. I'm pretty sure our firefighters Union 1230 is providing lunch, so free food is always good. But at any rate, I will not take any more time. I appreciate everybody being here. Thank you for your part in helping us become a part and a piece of the thread, a thread in the fabric of your community. We're humbled to be serving you and looking forward to doing that for many, many years to come. So thank you all for being here on such a great day.
Good job.
You want to close this door?
Yeah, we might. Okay, we might. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chief Richard. We're going to be pivoting and transitioning to the presentation that you'll be seeing here on the screen to really introduce and discuss the 2024 fire season preparedness. It's going to be done in two parts, and we have three presenters. We're going to have Fire Marshal, Assistant Fire Chief Chris Bachman, Deputy Fire Chief Aaron McAllister, and then the County Coordinator Michelle Reinhardt. And they're going to come up, these two gentlemen will be talking about not only the prevention, the planning that's being done, and the preparation, and how we're prepared to respond, and the collaboration and the help that we need from you when it comes down to preparing for the 2024 season, as I stated, that has already begun. And then secondarily is we're going to be introducing to you and discussing and providing a question, answer, or any comment about the local hazard mitigation plan that Michelle will be introducing to you at the conclusion of this piece. So without further ado, I'd like to invite up Fire Marshal Chris Bachman.
Okay, good morning. As we mentioned, we're going to go over four things: prevention, planning, preparation, and response. As we get into that, we put together a little fun video. Hope especially the kids in the crowd, hope you enjoy it. Just to give a summary about what we're expecting this year and every year before fire season starts, of how you can be better prepared and what you need to do. So we'll watch this short video, and then I'll get into the presentation about what resources are available to you.
Contra Costa Fire Protection District. This is Chris. Oh, hey, Sparky, how are you? Uh-huh. Yeah, I can help you out with your weed abatement. Yeah, we'll see you in a minute. Hey, Sparky, how you doing? You called? No, Sparky, that's not exactly how it goes. No worries, we can show you how to get started. We'll go to our website at cccfpd.org. Go over to fire prevention and just scroll down to wildfire prep. And there you go. You're that much closer to starting your wildfire prep for the season. Hey, Sparky, great job on cutting your seasonal grasses and weeds. Looks really good. But you're not done yet. We got to talk about defensible space. So even though you're not in a very high fire hazard severity zone where it's required, it's really good practice. Things like cutting your limbs back off the roof line to separate them from the structure, managing your vegetation along there as well, and reducing or getting rid of mulch up next to the house helps reduce structure ignition. So it's a great part of a wildland fire preparedness plan. That's a great question, Sparky. What about your neighbors? You know, there's actually a nationally recognized program out there that helps you collaborate and work together with your neighbors and come up with wildland fire preparedness plans as well. It's called FireWise. Basically, you get to learn about wildland education from fire professionals and others and work together to help increase the overall resiliency of the neighborhood. The great part is, it's volunteer as well. Hey, Sparky, great job getting your FireWise community together. You guys are learning about home ignition zones and great defensible space practices. That's awesome. Now that you guys are organized, you know what else? You're eligible for fire safe grants, as well as programs through the Contra Costa County Mitigation Program, like Chipper Days, or some help with your vegetation management to help your overall strategic project for your FireWise community. How's that sound? Each year, the fire district requires the citizens within the district to cut their weeds and seasonal grasses to 3 inches or less. We require this in order to help stop the potential for ignitions and slow the spread of fire during an event. So whether you have a house like Sparky's or some grazing land or orchards, it's important to get out there early, cut your weeds, and remember to maintain them throughout the entire fire season. Well, Sparky, I know we've talked a lot about vegetation management as far as wildland fire preparedness, but have you thought about what you do in case of an evacuation? Well, let's go see how we can get you ready, set, and get you going.
Hey, Sparky, I hear that you've been learning how to get ready for wildfires. That's great. The second part of that is getting set in case you have to go. So today I'm going to help you build your own emergency go bag in case you have to evacuate during a wildfire. And you have a checklist so you can keep track of all the stuff we're putting in there, okay? Great. The first thing we're going to put in is a copy of your vaccination records. This tells us your doctor's name and that you've had all your shots, and your humans can do the same thing. Next, we're gonna put in some basic stuff like food and water and your dishes and a can opener in case you get any yummy wet food during the wildfire. Let's put all that stuff in your go bag. And when we're out, if we have to evacuate, you want to stay dry and warm. So we've got a tent here and a poncho and emergency blanket. These are good items to have too, because you never know where you're going to end up. All right, now it's a wildfire, so it's going to be smoky in the air, and some people have a hard time breathing. If you need an inhaler, You can bring one of those, any medications you need, and it's really important to have a good mask. Very good. Let's check that off our list. I'm also going to throw in there a flashlight and a radio so you can keep track of what's going on with the wildfire. And of course, you have to have your own first aid kit, and we've got a special one just for you. And last but not least, you know how it is, Sparky. You gotta have your leash. And it's also very important to bring something from home to make you feel comfortable and safe. I see you brought Teddy. Are you okay with me putting Teddy in your bag? Okay. Teddy's gonna go in the go bag as well. Now we just zip it up, and we think of a place that's easy to grab. If you have to go quickly, I suggest you put your go bag by the front door or the back door, depending on where you're gonna evacuate. And now, Sparky, you're all set in case you have to go. Good job.
Hey, Sparky, you've been pretty busy with all your wildland fire preparedness, haven't you? So you got your weeds done, you've done defensible space, you even started a Firewise community, as well as got some chipping done through the Contra Costa mitigation program, and I also hear you're ready and set to go in case of evacuation. So now that that's all done, what are you gonna do? Sparky and I want to thank you for watching our wildland fire prep video. We encourage you to go out and start your own wildland fire preparation in partnership with Contra Costa Fire Protection District and increase the fire resiliency of your home, your neighborhood, and across the county. For more information, go to cccfpd.org. And once again, thank you very much and have a safe fire season.
Yeah, definitely like to thank our CRR staff for putting that video together and add a little fun and humor with it. So let's get into the exterior hazard deadline. The exterior hazard deadline is June 1st every year. Since that falls on a Saturday, you're going to get a couple extra days. So on June 3rd, we will be out inspecting those properties to make sure they're meeting compliance for weed abatement and exterior hazards. Notices have been mailed out, and we need to make sure that you've cut all your weeds and grasses to 3 inches or less. If you have a large parcel of 5 acres or more, you don't need to do the entire parcel, but you do need to create fuel breaks. And we have flyers to show several different ways of how you create those fuel breaks in those large areas and how effective they can be. An example of that is on June 17, 2022, we had a 4-alarm fire that burned 121 acres out in Pittsburgh. This fire was reported at 2 a.m. with more than 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts. It started up on the top of the hill and blew right down into where that community is. But if you'll notice on your left is a good example of how that landowner did what they were supposed to by creating that fuel break in that large parcel of ground. So when we showed up, we were able to immediately work on attacking each side of the fire and extinguish it, and very little work was needed for structure protection. In fact, we had 0 homes that received any damage in this subdivision. You can see it came right through the open space, right up to the back of a very populated subdivision where had that not been done, we could have been dealing with, it gets from the open space into your yard, into the houses. If we have high winds, and then we start talking about that structure-to-structure ignition. That's a lot harder to extinguish. So that's why it's important to make sure you're doing your part, even if you're in town and you have a parcel, that you're cutting all those weeds and grasses and getting them away from your home. So let's go into defensible space. Out back, we have dispensable space flyers. This information is also on our website. If you don't want to carry the flyers home, we also have some flash drives that have all this material on it. So you can take it home, download it, or take the copies we have here. For online listeners, go to our website at www.cccfpd.org, and you can download any of this information on our website. We also want to make sure that when you're out there doing defensible space or dealing with that exterior hazard, that you're using the proper equipment. So look over the equipment safety guide every year, usually in May, as everybody's getting ready and they're cutting those tall grasses and weeds. We run some exterior fires because they hit a rock and it sparks up. Usually it's because the proper equipment isn't being used, or they're doing it in the afternoon. So watch your humidity. When the humidity drops and the winds pick up and it gets up in that high 80s, that's not the time to be out using the weed eaters or mowers, because they can hit a rock, and if it sparks, it can start a fire rather quickly. So just making sure that we're using the proper equipment safety, and there's material both on our website or here at the open house to give you more information on that. Another tool we like to send our residents to is readyforwildfire.org. This site is maintained by CAL FIRE, and it provides a lot of the explanation about the state regulations with defensible space, where it's required, and it explains all the different zones, Zone 0, Zone 1, and Zone 2, and what those requirements are in each one of those zones to make sure you're reducing that vegetation and doing the recommendations. Even if you're not in the very high fire hazard severity zone, there's some great information in here to help make your property and your home better protected in the event a fire occurs. We've also created a local residence guide for wildfire prep and evacuation. We did this with Contra Costa County Sheriff, and in this, it discusses terminology. And the good thing about the terminology is if you're getting a warning of it's an evacuation warning or it's a mandatory evacuation, understanding all those different terminologies that may come across on your phone, or when you're hearing warnings go out, what that terminology means. So we have copies of those here. Make sure you grab one, go through it. It discusses also about having a plan. As mentioned in the video, making sure we have a go bag with all the necessary items in that go bag. Stay informed and make sure you're heeding evacuation tips. And this is another item that's also available online and electronically. So what is Contra Costa County Fire Department and the other agencies doing to mitigate work? Well, as it's been mentioned previously about Measure X and the money that were allotted, almost $4.5 million for both Crew 12 and then these mitigation programs. So with these mitigation programs, there's community chipping days, evacuation route cleanup, funds Firewise strategic plans, the removal of dead trees, and shaded fuel breaks and vegetation management. We start by identifying a project in your community. This isn't meant to identify a project in your yard. It's to identify a project in your community. So the best way to do that is, whether you're Firewise or you're not, take a community approach towards what is a hazard in your community and what should be reduced to make your community safer. And when you do that, you'll get the fire department involved, because they need to support your proposal or your plan. You'll go online and you'll apply for the funding. You can click on our tab. We have information here about the program. There's QR codes. But when you go to our website and you click on that to apply for the funding, you'll fill out the information. One of the questions it asks is, who's the local fire department representative that you've talked to? Because they're going to grade your plan. If you're in Confire's area, then either myself or the deputy fire marshal or our CRR captain will grade your plan in a grade of 10 to a 0. And the reason we do that is we have hundreds of these requests coming in. We got to kind of prioritize them. But I'll get into momentarily where that work's been done and where those applications have been applied for. But when you do that, getting the fire department involved, because we're also going to provide recommendations of, if we fund this, how maybe you could improve some of the things around your home as well. Getting into becoming that Firewise neighborhood. We've had great success with our increase of Firewise neighborhoods throughout the county, and it provides you additional funding options as well. So let's jump into where have the projects been applied for and been approved around Contra Costa County. So this map shows all the different programs that I previously mentioned, from the community chipping days to the dead tree removal to Firewise strategic plans being funded, and vegetation management. If it's got a green triangle in the center of that circle, then that means it's been approved and completed. If it's got a yellow triangle in the middle, then that just means it's been applied for and it's probably got a score. We just haven't got to it yet because we're prioritizing these areas. What are we putting our heaviest priority on right now? Evacuation route cleanup. That's identifying those evacuation roads that we need to make sure that we've cleared that vegetation back. So if we do need to evacuate an area and the fire does bump up on the road, that we're still able to evacuate down that road without flames impinging out on the roadway. So we're clearing back that vegetation down these primary evacuation routes. The other thing we're really focusing on right now is community chipping days. This is where residents, you get 8 or more residents in your neighborhood to clear up their vegetation and identify a date that you're gonna have it done. So when you, we just had one this last Tuesday out in Lafayette that was a vegetation, or a chipping day. So over that weekend and the week before, they had residents that went in, cleaned up a lot of vegetation, put it out along the street, off the road. We hand out flyers to the size the piles need to be, what's the largest logs that can be cut that we can still chip. And then we come along sometime after that date and then we'll chip it. And it's an amazing effort of both the community doing their part and then us assisting in hauling off all that vegetation and getting rid of it for you. So that's kind of where our emphasis is right now as we're going into this year's fire season, is the community chipping days and evacuation route cleanups. But we really encourage everyone to check this site out. If you have questions, you can talk to me afterwards. And then, so this is the total applications by city. So a little bit better breakdown of what we have. If I look at Pinole, it looks like Pinole has the most requests for evacuation route cleanups, which is what we're focusing on right now. And then I think we have 1 request for vegetation management and fuel reduction. So we're working our way around the county, making sure we're getting these done. And this next slide identifies what's been done and how many we have. So we have 3, it looks like 4 applications that have been submitted to Pinole, the evacuation route cleanups. 3 of those have been done, and there's still just, there's only 1 that's, we'll say, pending or in the queue. So again, this shows the progress that we're making sure we're hitting all of our communities throughout Contra Costa County. Not just Pinole, not just Confire's area, but all the different communities, because this program is funded countywide through Measure X, and we appreciate that support. So Becoming Firewise, it's a national program by helping neighbors work together. You only need 10 homes to get started. You need a primary leader. So that contact's gonna fill out the paperwork, and the fire department's gonna come out and will assist you in doing a survey, and you create a strategic plan of, over the next 3 years, what are you gonna do each year to reduce the vegetation in your community, to make your community safer, and provide education. And we're gonna assist with that education. We can hold community meetings, we can come out to a Firewise meeting, provide you with material, and make sure everyone in your neighborhood is performed. And the results of that strategic plan, so in the funding that we're doing with Measure X, is we're going in and tackling, we'll say, year 2 or year 3 projects to try and get that community up to speed even faster. So what they've identified in year 1, they're already doing, but then let's look at what they've identified in year 2, and maybe we bring a contractor in and do that work, or we bring Crew 12 in to do that work to speed up your process and get you there even faster rather than taking 3 years. So Firewise communities, we are one of the fastest growing counties of, we'll say, bringing on Firewise communities in the state. We have 88 communities right now throughout the county that are either approved or an application. Now, why is that big? Well, because 6 years ago, we had 0. We had 1 community that had a Firewise, and they had let it expire. So we're making great progress through this throughout the county. In the West County area, El Cerrito has 1 group that is Firewise that's in good standing. El Sobrante has 4 groups that are in good standing. Kensington has 1 group in good standing and 3 in pending. And Richmond has 1 group in good standing and 1 pending. So hopefully with all of our Pinole residents today, talk to us afterwards. We'd really like to see some Firewise communities come to the Pinole area. If you're interested in this, go to our website and get for more information, or we have handouts here at one of our tents, or track me down afterwards, or Michelle Reinhardt, our county coordinator, and we can get you set up. And it's a really simple process and provides a lot of benefits. So with that, I'm going to have Michelle come up next and talk about what she does as a county coordinator and how she can be a valuable resource to you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. There's three things that I'd like to have you take away about the County Coordinator Program. First of all, it is a statewide program that the funding is available from CAL FIRE through a pass-through organization called the California Fire Safe Council. So each county throughout the state has a county coordinator equivalent to myself and is embedded with various strategic partners within their county. The benefit of a county coordinator being embedded with a fire district is I'm able to provide consistent messaging and support from a fire perspective. Secondly, locating additional funding for fire safe councils. Frequently, the capacities are limited due to funding for fire safe councils, so the interaction with mitigation groups throughout the county benefits us all. And then finally, the community engagement piece, acting as a source of support for those who may have technological difficulties or experience some challenges in engaging with technology. So I am available to, with project identification, enter their projects, and help track them. So looking forward to working with all of our Firewise groups here. I'd like to express a specific thanks to Supervisor Gioia. As soon as I was hired within ConFire, Supervisor Gioia was very very important to the success of the county coordinator here in the county. Your work to have my presence at the municipal advisory councils made a big difference in West County. You can see where our engagement is, and that is directly due to Supervisor Gioia's support. So thank you very much, and I'll hand back to Chief.
Okay, so with vegetation management, what we're doing is fuel reduction work. This is countywide, as I previously showed, and we're partnering with cities. So when we do those evacuation route cleanups, we're usually working with the city to either have Public Works come out and assist us with flagging or traffic control, or the local police department. And we've had great success with this, not only partnering with our cities, but even our neighboring fire departments. Because as mentioned earlier, fire knows no boundaries. We all work together and we're gonna solve this, and that's why we're approaching this with such a collaborative effort throughout the county, even outside ConFire's jurisdiction. So the Lafayette Walnut Creek Shaded Fuel Break, this is another good example of going out and receiving state funding from CAL FIRE. This is a $3 million project that's funded to do 194 acres and create a shaded fuel break around the community of Rossmore and Walnut Creek, and then extend over into portions of Lafayette. We've completed about 95 acres of this shaded fuel break. In fact, so with that, it requires creating piles that in the top picture that's close enough to the road, we're able to bring our chipper and chip truck in and we chip it. In some of the more remote areas of this project, we have to do pile burning. The piles are relatively small in size, only 4 foot by 6 foot, and then we burn them on acceptable days. That's why Crew 12 couldn't be here today. They're actually out at this fuel break doing some pile burning, because we had this very short window before we're gonna have to stop pile burning and just pick it up again next winter. And next, we're gonna get more into our preparedness and response on the operations side. So I'm gonna turn the presentation over to Deputy Chief Aaron McAllister.
Thanks, Chief. All right, as much planning and preparedness as we do, we can't prevent all fires, and then we have to respond to fires. So we spend a lot of time working with our partners, especially here on the west side. It's a very fluid system. All day, every day, Rodeo, Hercules, Richmond, ConFire, our resources flow very fluidly together. But that takes planning and coordination. So we go through a series of meetings headed into wildland fire season where we talk about what's new, what's different, what's available. We meet with our CAL FIRE partners. We met just 2 weeks ago and we learned that this season there will be a very heavy helicopter station at Napa. Well, that's important to us because that's going to be our closest Type 1, very large helicopter by air and can be here in about 6 minutes. So great asset, great resource. That's why we go through the planning and preparedness. We do have an East Bay incident management team where we have a group between Alameda and Contra Costa. We come together so that we can manage those major incidents. There's a whole lot that goes into that significant incident management, not just the boots on the ground that are fighting fire, but being able to support those personnel that are on the front line and be able to sustain operations for multiple operational periods. One of the programs that's been a huge success for us is the CAL OES pre-positioning system. We monitor weather, we stay in touch, we communicate with all of our colleagues throughout the county, even adjacent areas, and when we have predictable weather events, red flag events declared by the National Weather Service, we apply for pre-positioning funding. We hire extra staff, we put on a second bulldozer, we'll put on 2 crews so that we have that extra oomph. If we do get a significant incident, we can throw a lot of resources at it in a short amount of time and hopefully catching those fires before they become major incidents. The state helps us with that. They provide funding for that, and we coordinate with our neighbors so that I know I've got an extra strike team sitting in Pleasanton if I need to pull it into the county. I got an extra strike team sitting in Solano County if we need to pull it in, and likewise, we support them as well. Evacuation management, it's been talked about a couple of times. I've served on a CAL FIRE incident management team and participated in some of the largest fires in California over the last 5 years. And I've seen this tool used to the maximum of its capability. It's called Genesis. We have pre-designated the entire county. We work hand in hand with the community warning system. It's important to sign up on the community warning system so that you can receive those critical notifications if we do have a major incident. It's an all-risk platform. It's not just for wildland fire management. It could be a significant hazardous materials incident or other event. We've used it in Contra Costa for I'll call smaller scale incidents. And really, I hope we never have to use that tool to the maximum of its capability. But if we do, we're prepared. We have the tools in place for major incidents. Yeah, you can sign up through the sheriff's website. There is a flyer on the one of those tables out back, QR code. You can sign up through the sheriff's website. Crew 12, we've talked about it several times. I just want to say what an amazing tool it is when we do have those wildland fires. One of the ways we're using Crew 12 is to handle kind of the dirty work after a fire has been contained and controlled. There's still a lot of mop up that has to happen there. One of the huge benefits is that we can use that crew to mop up that fire, take those fire engines and firefighters and put them back in your fire station in your neighborhood so they're prepared for the next incident that happens. Over the last couple of years, we've added significant resources to our fire suppression capacity. One of those resources is this fire station in Pinole. What does that mean to the rest of the county and some of our neighbors? When we can beef up resources in one area where there's been a deficiency, everybody around us is better off. So because Pinole has both fire stations staffed, we're relying on the neighbors adjacent to us less often. That's a benefit for everybody in the entire system.
Okay, so to kind of close us out, the 3 steps that we need to make sure that we're following up with for a safer fire season this year is make sure you go to that using that Genesis app. Used to be Zone Haven, now it's Genesis, same platform, just a name change. And find your evacuation zone. These have been all identified and set up by local police departments. We've worked with them to make sure that they have them. We have these postcards here out back at the tent that have all these QR codes and all this information on it. But that important piece also is making sure you're subscribing to the Community Warning System, or CWS. So evacuation, or Genesis identifies what zone you're in. So you need to make sure you know your zone. But you're gonna get the alert from the Community Warning System. So they work hand in hand. Make sure you've signed up for to get those alerts on your cell phone. So if there is any notifications that need to get sent out, that you're receiving those. And last is, as we mentioned earlier, making sure you're creating that defensible space around your house and your parcel, and convince your neighbors to do the same, so we can all work together in making us better prepared and having a safer fire season in 2024. And we'll round that up. Do we have any questions about wildfire preparedness? If you could all please also stay in your seats. We're gonna have, it's very short, it's only 4 slides, but then when we're done with this, we're gonna get into the local hazard mitigation plan and provide a summary about what that is for as a county-wide plan preparing for hazards. Yes, what's your question?
Yes, I just had a couple of observations. You did mention your collaboration with East Bay Regional Park District, because we're surrounded with that. And the other question I had is, any of this information bilingual? It'd be great to give my landscaper something in Spanish and English, and I don't know if any of that information is available, as well as the community forwarding system. Do we have any specialty that goes out as bilingual?
So some of the material at the state level is bilingual. We are working on that. We've had multiple requests. We've also had those requests that when we're going out to some of our MAC meetings, to offer that as well. So our county coordinator is working on that resource about having those available for both questions and answers, but also creating brochures in multiple languages, yes. Yeah, and CWS is the same way. Yes.
Firewise program I heard about last year. You said something about the Firewise being in the neighborhood. Is it possible, do you have to be in the same neighborhood? I know there's people that have more brush than others. Like, for example, I live up there by Pinole on the other side of the freeway. This area seems like might need a lot more help because of the brush and the area they live in. And you say that's like 10 members of the neighborhood?
Yeah, the minimum's 8, and it doesn't have to be continuous. So you don't need, 8 continuous houses. You take your whole community. A lot of the subdivisions may have, say, 100 houses in a subdivision. You only need to go out and get 8 or 9 residents in your subdivision or in your neighborhood and say, let's create a Firewise community. We have the information here about it. Michelle is working around the county with a lot of those new communities. In fact, she's in communication with over 20 right now that are in that, we'll say, application or pending period, because it's really not that difficult. We'll help you create your strategic plan, and we'll come out and do a site survey in your neighborhood and provide recommendations.
And I'm a member of the Community Services Commission here in Pinole, and I find that it's important, and we need to send a message out to our community here, especially the fire we had last year around Crockett on the freeway. It's so important now, do it early in the game, because we need to be fire safe, and I believe in the program. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Sure.
The chipper days, does it have to be, Thank you. For chipper days, if we have 10 residents, does the material need to be in one location, or can the chipper go to, a couple streets over?
No, yeah, well, absolutely. We go, and it's not even just one location. So when we do a neighborhood, we do ask that you have 10 or more homes that participate in it, because we don't want to come out just to one property for a small load. That with those 10 homes, I mean, we can, it'd be ideal that you and your neighbor next door would have one pickup site. We know it's very labor intensive, piling all this stuff up. So usually about every a pile for about every 3 homes. And then very reasonable that we go down the block and we grab the piles, we throw it through the chipper and haul it away in our chip truck. And you don't have to be a Firewise community to do that. You just got to get 10 of your neighbors. You'll provide us with a map and a date that you'd have that done, and then we'll come out and do that chipping day. As we get into June and July, you just need to be patient, because we may have this day planned of, sure, we should be able to be out there this morning or this afternoon, and we get hit with a couple fires because Crew 12 will be doing that, and we may have to push it back a couple days. So that's why we like to say we don't like to give an exact date. You just tell us what date it will be done, And usually within about 7 days, we try and get out there to get that chipped and hauled off.
Okay, if we can do one more round of applause for all the presenters here this morning, and the city and Supervisor Gioia, we thank all of you for being here today. So this does not conclude our conversation with you. This is just a conversation starter. All the information that's available on the website, the supervisor's website, and the city's website, we want to continue this conversation with all of you. And so this is going to conclude the formal presentation we have there this morning, but it also begins the open house that we have. And I believe we have a question. Please.
Station 74 has a lot of new personnel. The 73 staff is new, but 74 has an extension of the Fire. So is it possible that we can invite at least once a month? We have 3 minutes, just come in and say who you are, and there's like we say, fire season coming. And I know I invited them last month, and they came, they were wonderful. But I know they're trying to limit it. But it's important to keep reminding our citizens, we have to stay safe. There's a reason and purpose we make open 7%. And I say this wholeheartedly, we work hard to get it open.
Sure.
I want to stay open, but the purpose is to go out to the community and let this direction and things that we can prevent from things happening. Here we go again, we're doing it. And we've seen a lot of cities.
All right, well, thank you. And so, and I'll continue to speak with you offline just about that. So again, we thank you for being here. You have a lot of specialized pieces of equipment that are out here. We encourage you to go look at the equipment, get on the equipment, talk to the firefighters, get to know them. And we really appreciate you being here today, and may you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.